So, what do we do?
Let's talk.
Let's talk. So, I was just thinking that remember we met at Melbourne, in one of our film festivals, the Indian film festivals, and then we spoke and you said, what are you working on? And I said, I'm working on something. I'll come. And I just met you. We met for dinner. So now, why I did the film, I'll talk about it. But let's quickly go into the fact that, of course, we wanted to collaborate. Let's keep that fact aside.
Yeah.
But let's quickly go straight to the film and see what exactly moved you to really work on this film, and you got an inspiration that I know I should act in this film, not just as a Shoojit Sircar film, but I'm talking about the story, presumably.
Dada, what I think it's very important as an actor to find some sort of an anchor in the story.
Right.
And that anchor, what I've learned over time, has to be an emotional anchor. It's like a linchpin. Basis that is then the rest of the garnishing and the cosmetics of the screenplay come into it. For me, when you just told me about the motivation of Arjunda,
Right.
for that was the one hook that really got me.
Like, to take it from there, when the first time I heard that Arjunda has got, which the character that you're playing has got, the doctors have given him 100 days to live.
Yeah.
I mean, that itself, and he was talking to me in 2020, 21, we were doing a podcast, he's talking to me. So that doctor has given him to him 12 or 15 years back, I don't know. And he's talking to me, and I got hooked that somebody got 100 days to live. And what will he do? So that got me, my curiosity towards, okay, let me understand this.
It's an amazing thought. Agar aap sochein ki a doctor tells you you have 100 days. What does a person think? First, how do you process that information?
Right.
Once, it's going to take you a few days to process that. And once it's processed, what do I do?
Yeah.
What does that person think at night when his head is on the pillow? I'm sure one of the thought must be, am I going to wake up tomorrow? Is this my last night? How do I want to live my last night? These are my last few days. What do I want to do? What do I not want to do? Is there any thing in my life that I need to put closure to? There'll be financial things, there'll be emotional things, there'll be personal things. There's a whole checklist that you start making. And for a person to be going through that was so intriguing to me, because it sounds very cool. You have 100 days to live, iske upar ek picture bana rahe. But what does a person actually, when you sit down and just give it 5 minutes and think, it's an amazing frame of mind to be in.
Right.
And that coupled with when Raka asked him.
Yeah. Before that, I want to tell you quickly.
Yeah.
Once first time when I told you that, and I was smiling. And you said, what is so humorous, Dada, about it?
Yeah.
And I told you, doctor has given him 100 days. I still find humor there. I mean, like people ask me why I find humor in Piku and other things, and even in October. I find humor in these real life moments. And when I started speaking to Arjunda, my films normally are very inspired from real life. And I told, in the beginning, I didn't tell you that it's a real life film.
Yeah.
I just told you that the story.
This is the story,
basic, this man is going to, and then I told you that's a real life. So you asked me what is humorous about it.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think you found him? I found...
Dada, I think I somewhere got the answer for that almost halfway into the shoot of the film. Till then, I was still approaching it as a very dramatic story. Because the inherent beats of the story are very dramatic, very emotional.
Yes.
When you see how Arjun reacts to certain situations,
Yeah.
when you read the scene, play it out in your head, and then when you shoot it, you start realizing that actually it's not a unique reaction, seeing the lighter side of it. It's actually the best reaction.
Yeah. Yeah.
The best way to deal with this tragedy is to be able to laugh in the face of it.
Oh, yes, exactly.
The best way to resolve any relationship in your life is to see the lightheartedness in it. It's actually a very mature way of approaching it.
Yeah, no, I think it's more like smiling at your adversities.
Absolutely. Because you're doing two things. You're softening the blow for yourself because you're smiling. And two, the adversity is being thrown off its game because, hey, wait, you're not meant to react like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Ye kuch aur hi hai. So I started realizing that halfway through the shoot. And I think I actually clicked into fifth gear once the acceptance of you have to see the brighter side of life.
Right.
Because there's so much darkness around us. And if you start paying attention to the darkness, it'll swallow you. And if I have 100 days to live, I don't want to spend those 100 days in self-pity, remorse. No. I want to do it with a smile on my face.
Right.
And that made it such an intriguing interpretation of how to deal with something like this.
I laughed every day, and every scene for me was because they all came from my discussions with my friend Arjun. So every day, his nature, the character it's so inspiring that everything he got, he's serious, but deep inside there is a subtle, there's a subtle way of saying that, okay, here I come, here you come, okay, let's have a fight.
Yeah.
So once he told me that I am married to cancer.
Yeah.
So I said, what do you mean? Well, say I'm now married to cancer. So either now we are married.
Yeah.
So now I have to take with me only. So the way he was smiling and grinning and and talking to me, that gave me force.
There's a lot of wisdom in that.
Yeah.
We were I think we were in Riverside, where we shot part of the film,
Right.
in the outskirts of LA. And he told me this. He said, it's not a very happy marriage, but it's a marriage. And I found that such a nice way of just thinking about cancer. He said, it's a marriage. I said, why do you say that? He said, because till death do us apart.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, he is like that. He gives this one-liners.
I found it so amazing.
Yeah.
You're married till death do you apart. And that's such a unique way of... Why would you not want to delve deeper into a character like this?
Somewhere, when you were performing, when we were discussing, when we were talking, before we went for a shoot, I don't know, I found you also somewhere below the belt. That humor, that satire that is there in your every discussion there, which a lot of people don't know actually.
Yeah.
You are, I'm not talking about pranks, but I think kind of wisdoms that you have, and you with a very, straight face that you play on us, on everybody else. There's a lot of things that you are Arjun Sen, purely. Do you agree?
Partially. Like I said once in an interview we were doing, I think we're both very facetious. And
you'll have to explain that meaning
again. So being
again.
facetious is when you try and make a joke or make light of a very serious situation.
Right.
But a lot of the time, somebody who's being facetious is doing so because that's their defense mechanism.
Right.
Life is what it is, Dada.
Right.
You very quickly realize that you don't really have the ability or the power to change too much of it.
Right.
You have to learn to just cope with it.
Right.
There's that famous saying, you can't run from the wind. You just have to trim your sails and carry on.
Yeah, absolutely.
At that point of time, trying to find a lightheartedness in it is something that I've always used, I think, to maybe just make that tonic a bit sweeter to swallow.
Yeah.
And I think that is somewhere where Arjunda and I connected. Because I think a certain philosophy is very similar. कि भाई अभी ये situation है, या तो मैं रोऊं या हंसते हंसते जीवन काटूं. And I think he decided to do that, and I believe in that. I think I like to look at the brighter side of life as an individual. I'd like to believe I'm a very positive person, because I quickly realized that being negative is not going to get you anywhere.
Right.
Even if a situation is completely against you and the odds are stacked against you, if you're positive about it, at least you see something positive. You're hopeful.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, "Nahi, ye to khatam hai," it'll keep motivating you to keep trying. And another thing which I really liked with Arjunda was, I found that he was never afraid or shy in asking for help.
Yeah, he is not. Yeah, he's straight.
And I find that very courageous.
Yeah.
Because I Aradhya, about my daughter, about 3 years ago during the lockdown, was reading a book. And there was a line in that book. It was a children's book, but it was wise beyond its years. And I remember reading that and saying, wow, this. And in that, one character says, the most courageous word in the world is help.
Yeah.
Because that means you're not ready to give up.
Yeah.
I'll do whatever it takes to carry on.
Yeah.
And that kind of sums up Arjunda. He's not afraid to ask for help. He's not afraid to go into the hospital and say, okay. He's not given up.
Right.
Somebody who's dealt with the things that he's dealt with and continues to deal with. It's very easy to be fed up after 31 odd years and say, bahut ho gaya hai, abhi aur nahi karna.
No.
The fact that he's still at it, he's still trying to,
Oh, yeah.
we use it in a funny way. We say, jugadu aadmi hai. Kuch bhi karke wo. He's not giving up.
No.
He's very, very courageous.
No, he's not giving up. Another very important thing that pulled me into making this film, I'm a father. Arjunda also a father. I mean, he has a daughter.
Yeah.
I have a daughter. You have a daughter. So for me to figure my daughter's relationship with me before the film, or before I was interacting with my daughters, and after I spoke with him and I scripted the film, and then there is some course correction happened with my daughter because of the script.
Right.
Because of the film.
Right.
It did happen. Because there are a lot of things which daughters are much more matured than we think that we know more than the daughter. But daughters are. They're more sensitive in that sense. And did happen to me. And I thought that relationship is really beautiful in this film, and I kept exploring it. And that's what this film is all about. Did it affect you as a daughter-father relationship?
No.
In terms of this film?
The impression my films have on me in my personal life, I think happened before I start the film.
Okay.
I don't really remember any film of mine, or a character that I've played influencing my private life.
Right.
Or my life, in that sense. Once I'm on the film, it's about being as truthful to the character as possible and executing my director's vision.
Right.
And you know how mad our world is. After that roller coaster starts. For me, the reflection and self-reflection, I think, and I've only realized it through I Want to Talk, happens before. And I genuinely believe now, in my second innings, a large part of me doing the kind of cinema that I choose to do,
Right.
doing the kind of films that I choose to do, is reflective of a state of mind that I'm in at that point of time.
Okay.
So मेरा पहले होता है. So the fact that Arjun is told, you have 100 days to live, coupled with what Raka told him,
Right.
that will you dance at my wedding? For any father, giving your daughter away is one of the high points of your life. It's something that you look forward to, you plan for.
Right.
Whatever your relation with your child is,
Right.
his motivation to be there for his kid, and he is willing to go through whatever it takes because of a promise he made, is something that resonated with me. And I think that's one of the reasons why I chose. My daughter is still much younger than Raka is, but that for a father to feel that emotion of, I need to do whatever it takes to be available to my daughter,
Right.
is something I think is one of the main reasons of deciding.
Yeah.
But once the movie starts, it
Yeah.
becomes more about executing that. So I think a large part of me choosing films is because of what maybe I'm feeling at that point of time.
Right. You know, in terms of daughter, what I was saying is that not any relationship, because also the name of the film is I Want to Talk.
Yeah.
This film is all about communication. For me, also the fact that we sometimes, as an individual, we sometimes presume that we know a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Suppose I presume that I know a lot of things about you, but there are deep inside, there are many things which I may not have tapped at all. It's only suddenly someday you come up, Shoojit, you don't know about this. You don't know these things about me. And I take it for granted.
Yeah.
I took it for granted, for example.
Yeah.
So that was another thing that I wanted to explore in this film. The second thing was I wanted to explore was that every film affects me somewhere. For me, I only do films if it somewhere touches me. Otherwise, I am not interested in doing a film just like that. So this touched me in a sense that when I see my problems, whether it's an emotional problem, health problem, now I straight away start comparing with your character's or Junda's problem.
Yeah.
And I find it, I laugh at it. I mean, my problem is no problem at all.
Sure.
I am living,
I
eating,
understand
watching films, going around, I mean, doing so many things.
It makes you realize how grateful you need to be for what you have.
Of course. I mean, that's why I made this film all about how grateful I am about everything. And that drove me to purely make this film and take it to where it is. At the end, that when somebody asks you, if you get back your life, what will you do, Arjun? Here he says, I want to, that line, title comes, I want to talk. So to me, it definitely has affected me, and I treated this film as an inspiration for myself.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about audience.
Absolutely. No, I think it's very important, Dada, that apart from the usual parameters of what a film should do, included in that, not just the commercial aspect of it, it's also important to be able to relate. And I think what you've said is very important, and it's such a nice thing to hear that we're still thinking like that. That I see this film, I see this character, I see his arc, I see his journey, and it's unbelievably inspiring. Because it makes me realize that why am I lamenting my life and all. Look at what other people are dealing with. You're actually very lucky.
Yeah.
And it kind of shows you the mirror, which I think is also so important. It's part of the job of creative people is also to show a mirror to society.
Right.
We don't want to preach. We're not here to share our personal opinions. But something like this, that boss, if somebody like this, going through all that he is, can still have a smile on their face, what's your excuse?
Yeah, true. I mean, for me, remember I once told you that you asked me, give it me in one line, Dada, what is this film all about?
Yeah.
And I told you this film is all about an unstoppable journey of a man not giving up.
Yeah.
Not giving up in any situation.
Yeah.
I mean, he just sits there possibly and laughs at you. He brings jhalmuri chai every evening. And you know that this man has gone through so much.
Yeah.
So that is the...
There was another line that I asked you a bit later, which you said, which I really liked, which I think is such a nice way to sum up the film. He said, in another description of the film, you said, this is Arjun Sen's chess game against death.
Yeah, exactly. It is.
I loved that. Because it literally is that. He's forever plotting and planning, ki, abhi main kya karu, because I have to stay alive.
Yeah. You know, one more thing is that when I met Piku, you know, a lot of people, in the beginning, before the release of the film, a lot of people started talking, maybe it's a Bengali film, what is this film all about, constipation and all that. So, but once they watched the film, everything turned, you know. So for me, it was just a very personal film because, you know, I see it in every day in our drawing room, this kind of a conversation going on. Similar with October. So all these films have very deep personal impacts and observations also. Even I Want to Talk is a kind of film for me that, you know, that a communication is very important. A lot of my friends told me, you know, I could not talk to my father. I could not talk to my mother. I wish I had, you know, spoken everything that is there in my heart, you know. So all this impacted me and I did this film, and I definitely want audiences to watch this film. But what do you think? Because you have done more films than me, and you also have done many mainstream films. For me, I don't know what is mainstream or what is this indie film or whatever. What is that one thing that audience should come and watch this film for us?
Well, I think, like we discussed earlier, it's a very inspirational film.
Every film is inspirational.
It should be.
Right.
But this
why is this film inspirational?
But what I liked, Dada, about your approach is it's a change of flavor. And I say that because currently the environment we're in, everything is larger than life. Everything is, you know, on steroids. Everything is loud. There's this great fun. I mean, I love that cinema. I love the high octane action. I love the melodrama. I love all this. I think it's so important that in the middle of this to have a punctuation mark.
True.
And the punctuation mark is take a beat. Sit down. Take a deep breath. Settle into a nice slice of life film that might not make you think.
Right.
If it does, fantastic. But it'll make you feel. It's not a film that is dictating emotion to you. Right now, I feel a lot of our films, and this is by no means any sort of disrespect to them at all. That's a style. It's a style of filmmaking. It's great. Our films right now represent abhi haso, abhi nacho, abhi action karo, abhi ro. It dictates to you. The background music will swell. There'll be a round trolley. These are all tactics that directors and filmmakers employ to move you, to tell you this is how you're meant to feel at this moment of time in my story.
Right.
And to be able to pull that off successfully is an amazing feat. It's an amazing feat. You want to clap, you want to whistle. It's also important to make films where we're not going to do any of that for you. We're just going to show you a very simple story. You judge it, you feel the way you want to feel.
Right.
It's a very personal experience.
Right.
I expect a varied spectrum of reactions to this film.
Right.
Because this film is not telling you what to think. It's just telling you to feel, and you will feel what you are prepared, what you see in the film. Like I said, this is looking into the mirror.
Yeah.
What you see is going to be different for everybody else. And I think it's so important to make movies like that as well, where you're just giving you're trusting the audience ki, boss, aap aiye, baithiye, 2-2.5 घंटे, सांस लीजिए और आप देखिए, महसूस कीजिए और आगे बढ़िए.
Right. For me, to end it exactly, it is, I've become, with this kind of a story, I've become a little bit more, I wouldn't say fearless, but fear-free.
Yes, nice.
So, I've become a little bit more fear-free because, and I really want people to experience that you can be fear-free. And I hope people take that home.
I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will. And like Arjunda says, there's no such thing as average. Everybody's unique.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you.
Australia's first Indian magazine to have a national reach, Indusage is the largest circulated South Asian magazine in Australia with 5 simultaneous editions, 55,000 copies printed monthly, 220,000 readers, largest network of clients, undisputed leader in community news. Indusage is circulated in Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, Brisbane and Perth to over 525 outlets. Grab your copy now to get the latest on the community, news from India, Bollywood, music and much more. For more info, log on to www.indusage.com.au.